What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis in the flesh, and today we got some breaking Destiny 2 news. Like, this is very sudden. I was not planning on making this video. I just put out my guide on how to prep in the final week of Season of the Deep to gain an advantage in Season 22. Check it out if you want to, but go on Twitter and then see something pretty huge. So, as you can see right here, Joe Blackburn, who is like the director of Destiny 2, this is the person who wrote the infamous State of the Game from last week. He came to Twitter and he has a full, over 16-minute video talking about that feedback, talking about the disaster that was the State of the Game article. So I have not watched anything more than the first 30 seconds just to see what the heck is going on. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to watch it with you guys and give my feedback on this whole debacle. So let's just hop right into it. Let's get started here.
Hey everybody, it's Joe, and I'm just here to check in on how Destiny's going. So a few weeks ago, we put about a State of the Game communication that wasn't up to our standards for what y'all have come to expect for the...
Yeah, that's wasn't up to our standards. That's one way to say it. This thing absolutely blew up. It's important to say that this was not isolated to the Destiny 2 community. Mudahar of Some Ordinary Gamers, who has 3 million subscribers. Moist Critical, I think 4 million subscribers, 2 million, millions of subscribers, they both made a video talking about how disappointed they were with the State of the Game. These are two absolutely colossal creators who normally don't really have anything to do with Destiny, but the State of the Game was so bad and created such, a vitriolic reaction that these people are motivated to make these videos. And it's sad because, I was talking to MTash about this. Whenever Destiny 2 is in the news, it seems to be negative. And it sucks because if you think about it, these two huge creators, the reason they were motivated to make these videos is because at one point they loved Destiny. I know with Moist Critical, he plays raids, day one raids, and he loves doing it, right? So this is someone who enjoys Destiny. This is someone who we could have making Destiny content and bringing millions of eyeballs to Destiny 2 if the game was good. So there you go.
Those kinds of communications. It didn't provide the high-level vision that we normally provide, and really and truly a bunch of us were heads down working the final shape and weren't able to give it the sort of care and love that we normally put into these kind of communications. And
So that's actually interesting what he says there. We were heads down working on the final shape. I've been saying this for quite a long time, and I actually do believe him. The final shape is the finale. It is the final DLC for the Light and the Darkness saga. 10 years of work is culminating in this DLC. I think a huge amount of the staff at Bungie are working on the final shape, and they're probably just skeleton crews doing these remaining seasons and TWABs and so on, right? Which we've kind of seen the quality go down. That would explain it. Their eggs are in the final shape basket. So I actually do believe him for that.
that's nobody's fault but mine here on this. So I wanted to come in, talk to you all directly, and sort of give you an update on what we thought about the State of the Game that we put out and what we think about Destiny as a whole. Now, this is going to be pretty different than normal. This isn't a highly produced sort of production. It's me in my office. It's not scripted.
Same, brother.
I've got a bunch of notes here that we're going to read through. And it's going to feel probably more like you're just in a meeting with me, which is going to be rambly, and we're probably going to mess up a few times. But really, I just want to go over where we're thinking about the game. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the reveal coming out next week. We're going to talk about PvP. We're going to talk about armor. We're going to talk about our communication strategy. Those are the big ones.
And notice those are kind of the big controversies. They hit all four. The upcoming showcase, a lot of people say that why didn't you delay the State of the Game till after the showcase, because you referenced the showcase so much and said you can't show very much, you can't talk about very much in the State of the Game. PvP, of course, a big one. The armor thing really blew up. People saying you're making all these Everest armors, but you can't make one, Vanguard armor set a year. Are you kidding me, Bungie? So yeah, so that's good that you're addressing all those.
So let's just get right into it. Let's start with reveal. Next week, we're going to go out and we're going to show an awesome showcase for the Final Shape. We're really excited about a bunch of the content in there, and truly, that showcase is not a reaction to the state of the game last week. It's not a reaction to a bunch of the sentiment online, and it's definitely not a reaction to this video. It was recorded a while ago. I think I have a mustache in the video, and it's a pretty focused reveal. In the same way that the game itself is pretty focused. The Final Shape is focused on the light. It's focused on the enemies we've been setting up and the allies that you've come to know. It's not about a bunch of wacky new systems or wacky new themes coming into Destiny. Instead, we want to make an experience that's super easy for anyone who's ever played Destiny to come in and absolutely fall in love with the content that's before them.
So that's interesting, like saying that this showcase is focused, and he's kind of saying like, look, this was recorded quite a while beforehand. This is going to be a big production, and this was done months ago. Like, we're probably worked on for several months. So like, they're not going to be able to, because of the backlash of the state of the game, they're not going to be able to like change things in the showcase. The showcase is the showcase. It's focusing on the Final Shape. Like he's kind of saying we can't really like talk about more things we're doing for PvP in the showcase, like, because we didn't plan on doing that in the first place.
I think the other thing that's really important here to know, as I sort of look at my meeting notes, is that communication is built for a pretty wide audience, much wider than probably whoever is watching this video. So what we're not going to talk about is things like a big new Strange Coin refactor and Xur revamp that's coming out in the Final Shape. We're not going to talk about things like a refactor of HUD elements where we're making sure the buffs and the debuffs are more clear, and you can tell.
Strange Coin refactor is Xur. So Xur's going to have Strange Coins again? Something's happening in the Final Shape with Xur. That's kind of interesting, actually.
What's happening in higher level combat. It's going to, again, really be focused on the story, really be focused on the location, and maybe we'll get into a little bit about how the live service of Destiny is going to change after the Final Shape. Following that showcase, Dan, our GM, and I are going to be on set, taking questions, dotting T's, crossing I's, or maybe the reverse of that, on what you've seen in the showcase. So we'll provide a little bit more clarity on what was shown, and we'll probably get into some ways that maybe our philosophy on the Final Shape or specific details might have changed over the last few weeks since we recorded the showcase.
So showcase is going to be like a big, it's going to be like literally trailer after trailer after trailer, like very like cinematic. And then like there's a question kind of talking period, and that's where they might get into like, okay, yeah, we messed up. We're going to have some more PvP maps, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
All right, I think that's it for reveal. If I'm looking at the sheet next, we've got PvP. So let's start with the state of PvP right now in Destiny. What have we been doing? What have we been focused on? We've been really focused on Sandbox Balance. So like a big focus of effort last year was just making sure that Strand came out in a good place and got to live sort of in harmony with the rest of our Crucible ecosystem.
And it did, except for Suspend being absurd in PvP. They did nail this. Like compare that with the launch of Beyond Light and Stasis, like completely ruining the meta. Like Strand was much better implemented.
Aside from that, we've been focusing on putting up 2 weapon balances per season, one at the start, one in the mid-season. And we've been focusing on ritual updates to PvP, be this mode updates, point updates, reward updates at the beginning of each season. Finally, we flip over to our agenda. We've been focused on making 1 new map and a few reprises a year. Now, all that aside, I think it's fair to say this approach is not producing the Crucible that our players expect us. So what are we going to do? How are we going to change? First, let's talk about maps. It's clear that the sort of slow trickle of PvP maps isn't having the effect we want. And although it gets an injection of PvP maps every so often into the ecosystem, it's also forcing this like 1 new map a year. It means we're trying to build a map that has to do everything, which means it can't be good at anything.
Good point. He's right. Like, okay, you have 1 new map, and it means it has to play on every single game mode. Because this map, like, this is the new map. right? Whereas if you introduce 5 new maps, you can have maybe a couple of maps that are really only appear in objective game modes, a couple of other maps that only appear in, more like clash style game modes, right? You can have more variety in the maps. Like, maps don't have to be balanced for literally every single game mode. So that's a good point. And also, like, again, that one map a year, it would almost be better to have 2 maps or 3 maps 1 year, and then you could kind of delay, longer before you get new maps type of thing. Like, you need that refresh, that excitement. Like, oh, there's 5 new maps, there's 4 new maps, this is huge. So much attention and eyes are on PvP. If it's just a slow trickle, it's like, yeah, there's a little bit of excitement, but it never really gets to the levels you need the excitement to get to revitalize this playlist.
So next year, we're going to change our philosophy. Instead of a slow trickle of maps throughout the year, we're going to focus our effort into a single map pack that's free for everyone. So imagine new maps coming in one drop where we can make a bunch of new experiences that can all be good at specific things and adds a big variety in a single drop next year.
Love it.
Now, this is a shift from our strategy, so it's going to take us time to sort of understand the details of what we're putting out here and getting that out to y'all next year. Okay, maps are great, but we still really believe that PvP is about the foundation, and new maps aren't going to solve a foundation. So, modes. First of all, I'm really excited about what's coming out in Season 22, first with Checkmate. Checkmate is a mode all about that sort of primary fire, basic weapon excellence of Bungie games, and being able to show that excellence in a PvP setting.
So yeah, Checkmate is basically going to, from my understanding, if I'm remembering correctly from the state of the game, it's going to very much focus on primary weapon gunplay and change some other factors. I think lower cooldowns and whatever to focus on gunplay. Focus on gunplay. Here's the criticism though: is like, just have the general state of the game, the general balance of the game, have more gunplay. Like, you shouldn't have to have an entirely different mode that affects your character just to get some primary weapon gunplay. Like, that's what a lot of people would say. That's what it should be going into every game mode. Is it shouldn't just be ability spam. It should be focus on gunplay first, with abilities to, really support that, right? So that's the criticism I've heard of that.
It's what a bunch of our really marksman style PvP players have been asking for a long time, since Destiny 1. And we're finally going to put a mode like that in the game. And I'm super excited for a bunch of those players to get that experience starting right away in Season 22. Next, we've got Relic. And so Relic is a different kind of mode. And it sort of is a building off of these experiments that we've been doing with things like Fortress or Eruption, where it's about...
Relic is Team Scorched, man.
This quality Destiny sandbox experience of your guns and your powers that escalates when you succeed in sort of a crazy mayhem-like experience. And we think the balance of those two things is a really great time to sort of spin away from other parts of the game and get the full spectrum of what Destiny has to offer. I'm really excited about things like Fortress, and I'm really excited that Relic is going to provide an experience like this that is both, fun for people that are really good at slaying out and also has these sort of high-octane hijinks moments to it.
The problem is, something like Relic, yeah, it could be a fun party game, but the hardcore players, the people who are really concerned about PvP and the people who are complaining about PvP are not playing party game modes, right? They want the base PvP experience throughout all the base game modes, not just one new one to be improved.
But that's what we've already committed to. So let's talk about some new things that we think.
With that being said, 2 new game modes coming next season is pretty good. To kind of, revitalize PvP.
One, we know we need to bring more of our modes into the core playlists. We've been putting a lot out in labs. We've been putting a lot out in Iron Banner. And to be honest, there's a few obstacles to us putting these into our core playlists. Be this VO or small bug level issues that we just were I don't know if we're ready. I think that has been blocking us from doing the right thing here. So we're going to take on some of that bug wake. We're going to take on a little bit of the jank, and we're going to say, no. This isn't worth us not putting into the mode. And so we're going to take some of these modes that we've been putting in Crucible Labs, that we've been putting in Iron Banner, and taking them and putting them into the core PvP experience that most of our players experience.
That's good. I think that's a good point.
We've also heard a lot about comp, and particularly about the way that we reward points in comp. So we want to take a new approach to the way that we're balancing points in comp. Right now, we think it's just weighted too much on your personal MMR versus the people you're playing against. And when you win or when you lose a game, it can be really unpredictable how many points you're getting. We're going to go to a simpler system where winning or losing just matters more. Finally, we went.
Okay, so yeah, like it won't be about how good you are or how good the other team is. It's just like, hey, you won, you're gonna get points. You lost, you're gonna get a certain amount of points. Like it's not gonna be like different every time.
Great modes like Countdown Rush into competitive, and get modes that people are less excited about, like Rift, out of the rotation, making that competitive experience more about the game modes that our players enjoy. Okay, so we've talked map strategy, we've talked modes. I want to talk one other effort we want to do here. We're going to bolster what we call a PvP strike team. Throughout Destiny development, we've built strike teams for efforts before. This has probably been sort of invisible to you all in the audience, but in moments like in between Curse of Osiris and Warmind, we built a strike team for Destiny investment.
I don't know if you guys remember the time between Curse of Osiris and Warmind, but it was not a good time. However, he says we built a strike team to improve Destiny investment, and that absolutely succeeded. Warmind was I think it was a good expansion. Like Curse of Osiris was dog water. Warmind improved a lot of things. That's when we got the Whisper of the Worm. That's when we got some awesome things. Escalation Protocol. There's some very good things about Warmind. And then obviously what came after Warmind, Forsaken, which was, arguably the pinnacle of the entirety of the Destiny 2 experience. So he's saying the strike team, like we're our PvP team, we're bolstering it. So let's let him continue here.
This team was sort of built around, hey, how can we make it more rewarding and more enjoyable to just get stuff in Destiny 2? This team built stuff very quickly, like what would eventually become the masterworking system. They also went through, knocked out a whole bunch of bugs, knocked out a whole bunch of quality of life issues. We're going to take the same effort and we're going to build a PvP strike team around the same principle, but have it focused on the Crucible. It's going to be led by PvP developers, and it has a really interesting playbook for how this works. And that's that first the team decides what they want to do. They as a team get together, say, hey, these are the changes we want to make. Those changes go through me, they go through our systems CD. And then when we say, yep, those are great changes, they immediately get communicated with you all in the community, right? So this will be going out in a TWID, going out in...
Even the game director calls it the TWAB still. The TWID is dumb. Forget the TWID. Go back to the TWAB.
A Twitter post or going out on Reddit, right? Just sort of some immediate blast, like, hey, these are the changes coming. And those changes get communicated even before they start getting implemented. And then we start getting implemented. We found this formula is a really successful way for us to be able to push through changes quickly into the community. And I think one of the most exciting parts about these strike teams is we build them based off of community feedback. So these strike teams are built from the ground up to look at, hey, what are the pain points that are hitting our community the most? And so all this list is going to be built and burned down from, hey, these are the big issues the PvP community is looking at in Destiny.
That's, again, this is pretty good because, like, again, the analogy that the last time we had a strike team, it was Osiris. Like, that is when the game was dire. That is when the game turned around and we moved into Forsaken, right? And there was some pretty quick and important changes that were made within that time frame. So the fact that he's like, we're doing that again, but with PvP, that does give me some hope. Because again, by his own example, the last time the strike team was in effect, it was a pretty big deal.
All right, I think that's the end of the PvP part of our agenda. If I'm looking at our notes here, I think we're now going to talk about armor.
Or lack thereof.
It's probably been a while since we talked about this part about armor, but we might have talked about it before. I want to start with just talking about armor visual categories in Destiny. So at the top, we've got what we call aspirational armor. This is stuff like raids, trials, dungeons. We want the armor that comes from these activities to be flashy, or to like really talk about the core of what that experience is. It's really important that when players earn these armors, they feel proud, they want to wear them, they want to show them off in the tower.
And Bungie, they've been doing it. Raid armor, dungeon armor, trials armor, 90% of it looks great. So yeah.
Next, we've got silver, right? This is armor that you can buy for the store for silver. It's important for us that this feels like it's sort of breaking the mold of what you could expect in a Destiny game. It's our place to experiment with stuff that's a little bit fourth wall breaky. And importantly, we want anyone that spends silver on armor to feel like, hey, it was worth it, right? Like I got my money's worth when I spent this armor, it was cool. Then we have what I call narrative armor. This is the stuff that you'll see in any sort of our marketing trailers. This is the stuff that you earn in the season pass. It's the stuff that you earn in the post game of a campaign. And it's really about driving home what that specific moment in time was. So in season 21, it's deep sea diver armor, right?
And again, these have been good. The season's pass, sometimes the season's pass armor is bland, but then there'll be the ornaments within the season's pass, and they're usually quite good.
In Witch Queen, it's a sort of like weird paranormal detective armor. You'll see what it is in the final shape here in a week or so. But that armor for us is really about like driving home this clear, consistent fantasy of like, oh yeah, I was there. I remember that time in Destiny. Finally, we've got rituals and blues. And this space has always sort of been about that core Guardian fantasy. What does the Guardian look like that you would imagine as sort of the stereotypical everyday Guardian, or the Guardian that you see on the front line? Maybe tragically a Guardian that tried to go into the portal of the Traveler and then gets cut up into a million pieces. This is that spot. And we need a lot of armor here to sort of flesh out those fantasies. Now, sometime in the middle of last year, we sort of reevaluated our priorities on armor. And we said, hey, we need to be spending more on the armors that people care the most about, the people that earn, that spend, that do all this to this so they can sort of get these armors in the game.
Someone made such a good point. I made a video talking about the state of the game, actually kind of blew up a little bit, but in the comments, I read someone's comment and it was such a good point. And what they said is, Bungie says, hey, no one's using Vanguard armor. Like the adoption rate is super low. And I kind of said, yeah, because it looks lame compared to what you can get in, as Joe said, aspirational content or Eververse. Like Eververse armor is glowing and fire spitting out. Why am I going to put on this dumb Vanguard armor, right? But someone in the comments actually said another reason the adoption rate is so darn low is because the armor you get from Vanguard, from Gambit, from Crucible is 42 stat armor. When are you going to put that on? Never. So that's another huge thing. Again, talking about reinvestment. Hey, we got to invest in what people want to put on. Well, it's not always just the look of the armor. And I hope Joe gets into this, but it's also just the stats of the armor. You're not going to put on an armor piece that has trash stats, right? You're more worried about stats than appearance for most cases, actually, because you can transmog everything. So the aspirational armor, yeah, it looks good, but it also has good stats, which is why people are actually utilizing it. And so obviously it just creates this discrepancy where Bungie's looking at this, go, oh, why is no one using Gambit armor? Because it drops at 50 stats.
This is like our PvP stuff in trials, our aspirational stuff in raids and dungeons, our narrative stuff. We thought we weren't consistently hitting the bar enough in those looks. And I think that since that initiative, we've been really successful in this. We've put out great stuff in terms of like cowboy armor for Spire. We've put out awesome stuff in the Root of Nightmares raid. And we've put out a bunch of awesome armor sets for sort of a deep sea fantasy last season and Season of the Deep. Now, what we failed to do when we reprioritized, hey, where are our resources going, is communicate this to you. So we knew that when we made this change, we weren't going to be able to make a ritual armor set every single year. And we thought, okay, well, that's fine. We have a lot that fits this sort of base Guardian fantasy. But we should have communicated that out to you. And so, one, I'd like to say, this is not a thing that we're never going to invest in. We're investing in it again in the final shape. There's going to be a whole nother ritual suite of armor.
Again, he's talking all about appearance. He's talking all about appearance, and stats are important too, man. Please, I hope Bungie realizes that. You got to have a way. If you had a way to get consistent Vanguard armor that was actually juiced, maybe drops from Nightfalls a little bit more often, like juiced Vanguard armor, then you would see a lot more investment in those armor sets.
And we're excited to sort of replenish that base Guardian fantasy. But just because we're doing that in the final shape year, that doesn't mean that we communicated this soon enough. So also for this year, we want to take an armor set that we were going to put in the Eververse, and we're saying, no. We should have communicated this earlier. It's really important that our fans can trust us. Let's take this armor set that we were going to use in Season 22 for the Eververse set, and let's say, no, it's going to be free, and we're going to put it as ritual rewards. So next season, before the end of the season, you should see a brand new armor set that you can earn through playing Strikes, Crucible Gambit as like a rich reward for doing this, a brand new armor look.
Dope. Okay, there you go. So, pay attention to what just happened. We had an armor set that was going to go in Eververse, and we screwed up. The community reaction was bad. We're just going to take that out of Eververse, put it into the actual game. That means you can do that more often, Bungie. Like that kind of I'm very glad they're doing this. Look, they should be praised for doing that. They didn't have to do that. That's very good. This is a very good thing. But it also kind of goes to what the community is saying. Is like, you guys are shoving so many armor sets into Eververse. They literally have surplus armor sets going into Eververse that they can just take one and say, no, it should be ritual content. It's like, it shouldn't have to have the community erupt in order for that to happen. It should just naturally happen that, hey, this season, we don't have any new armor sets in Eververse. We don't, right? It's all going into the normal game. And then the next season, or when there's an event, hey, you know what? It's the Halloween event. So obviously we got the Halloween armor sets, they're in Eververse, and you can spend Bright Dust or real money. And everyone's fine with that because those are free events. But again, this is kind of very telling that they obviously do have a surplus of Eververse armor that they can throw into the game. It shouldn't have to have news articles and millions of eyeballs looking down on the game for that to happen. It should just happen beforehand. It's still good they're doing it, though.
Again, we're confident in our strategy going forward. We believe this is the right priority going forward, but also it's our responsibility to communicate this stuff sooner. So we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by all the fans.
Good.
All right, I think that's armor. Let's talk about comms. Okay, we've talked a lot about how the development team is very busy. And I think that although we really want to be focused on delivering great content to y'all and making sure that's our top priority, that doesn't mean our communications have to suffer. And so the first thing, we want to be talking to y'all more. But
thank you.
Talking to y'all more, our number one priority, we have to keep our community members and our community leaders safe from the Bungie side. I don't want anyone that signs up to come work at Bungie and to talk to y'all about the game to have to worry about their personal safety.
This is true, and this is so bad within the Destiny community. People are absolute psychopaths, not just in the Destiny community, in gaming in general, and just harass devs for the craziest stuff. And it's just guys, what you're doing is you're harming any good that would come from critical feedback or the community being upset. When Bungie does something silly or does something bad and the community calls them out on them and says, hey, we don't want this, we don't like this, there's always one or a few handful of degenerates that just go and start harass. And then it's the entire conversation, we had a good conversation going here, and the entire community was saying, Bungie, this is not okay, that you can't do this or whatever. And Bungie's kind of saying, yeah, you guys are right. But then these people do harass these devs or whatever, and then the entire conversation shifts around the harassment. And it's you guys are hurting any chance we have of getting a better game, because you guys are going out of your way to just mold the entire conversation now around harassment. Stop doing that. You're doing nothing but harm, on all aspects, on all fronts. So you just got to keep it respectful, concise, respectful, but also don't hold back from criticism, right? Bungie has done a lot of stuff that's completely worthy of criticism, and there's always that group of people that if you do criticize, they're don't talk to Bungie, don't do whatever. Bungie has always said that they respect constructive criticism. They've always been open to criticism, as long as you're, again, not harassing people or throwing insults and stuff like that. Bungie's always said bring the criticism. So keep that coming, right? But don't go over the line. It's just so unnecessary.
So we're going to keep using our branded accounts. You'll see these on Twitter, and you'll see these on Reddit, right? And we want to be using those accounts with more personality, going and talking to y'all more.
Good. I'm going to pause again. Just listen, they made the Destiny 2 teams Twitter account. They're we're going to now have a faceless Destiny 2 teams account, so it's not our actual community manager tweeting out from her personal account, which is just not a good idea, right? So the Destiny, and then but they make this big announcement, and then they don't even use the account. They go silent for weeks, and everyone's what's the point of announcing this new account if you barely ever use it? So again, the communication has to step up because it's a vicious circle. When communication lacks, people get more and more upset, and that leads to harassment, which makes Bungie withdraw and communication go down. Like, something's gonna have to break in the cycle. You know what I mean?
The other thing is me. I play the game a bunch, and right now I don't have a bunch of time to be writing sort of big, long blog posts like you would assume. But when season 22 rolls around again, I'm going to be in the game a lot. I'm going to be playing a lot. So what we want to do is commit to a few times next season and the season after. I'm just going to stream me playing the game. And you'll be able to come and talk to me. And it's not going to be reveal packed, but it is a great time to just be like, hey, check in with Joe. These are the things that we're feeling. Get his opinions on them. And hopefully, if I can get and play with some of our like elite players, me learn a bit more of the game. I learned a ton from playing with y'all in the community about different builds that are exciting and different ways to roll. So I want to commit, get out there, play some PvP.
If you ever want to play with your boy, Joe, I got you. Joe, listen, you want to do Grandmaster? You want to do a raid? I'll help you. I won't even make content out of it. I won't make a video on my end. I just love to play with you and, again, discuss the game. This is a bold move, guys. Literally happening right now. Like, literally right now, breaking news in Diablo released a video, oh boy, of two of their devs playing the game, these two level designers playing the game, and it's now one of the most disliked YouTube videos of all time, like a 98% dislike ratio. You can't see dislikes, but if you get like a Chrome extension or something, you can, and it's just like overwhelming vitriolic response from the community because the devs, you know, we're not good at the game, all that stuff. So Joe doing this is extremely bold. If he misplays, if he isn't good, you're going to have a community just getting super mad about it, right? So this is a bold move. I haven't seen Joe play, so, you know, he might be a decent player, but again, like, this is actually a very bold move, going in and just having your gameplay live streaming. That's kind of like, just very open, but that's very endearing. And, you know, even if he's not the best, it's like if he's there answering questions and going, you know what, good point, we should have this, or like, that's a good point of feedback, I'm going to relay that to the team. That's going to go so far. That's going to go so far in like helping the community kind of get back to that point where it's like, it feels like it's not Bungie here and the community here and they're clashing. It's a symbiotic relationship that we're kind of helping each other. And there's been times when it felt like that. And I hope we get back to that.
Learn from some experts and play alongside all of you next season. All right, the only thing that I have left here is close. So I think that means my rambling on here today is over. Thanks so much for listening to this, for watching this. Really excited to see a bunch of y'all next week at the reveal. Bye.
All right. So, what to say about that? Honestly, overall, very positive. And here's why. First of all, Bungie didn't have to do that, guys. But this was completely optional. Bungie could have just shut down, said, see at the reveal. You know, the reveal will probably hype everyone up, and we'll kind of forget about the state of the game. But they didn't do that. Joe's coming on here, taking responsibility. You know, he did say we messed up this way and this way. Like, again, that was good. Acknowledging where they went wrong. And we've already got some actionable change. The state of the game came out, what, last week, was it? Like, and he's already saying, we're done with the yearly maps. We're on to map packs. Great. Next season, we're taking something out of Eververse. We're putting that into the normal armor. You guys are right. We're shoving too much stuff into Eververse. Again, that actionable change already coming. And some more stuff he mentioned there. So, like, that is great. Literally a week later, he's like, all right, you guys, you called us on it. You guys are right. Here, we're already doing some changes. And I assume, like, more changes will come later. Like, it's a very quick turnaround for them to announce, frankly, any changes. I'm surprised they were actually able to say, like, this and this are already coming next season. So that is very, very good. So overall, like, this is positive because, guys, like, again, like, Bungie didn't have to do this, and it could have been like Bungie saying, the community is being unreasonable. You want all these map packs, we're trying to deliver all this content. You guys are crazy. But they didn't do that. They came out and they said, you got us. It was not up to the standard that we expect and you expect, and we're going to strive to do better. So that's great. That's great to hear. But as I said in my video, it's going to take more than words. It's going to take actions. Again, it sounds like there's already some actions coming next week. But we're going to have to wait and see how the reveal shapes up and all that stuff, how the showcase shapes up. I have hope. You know, I'm the last one here. People get so toxic about this game, and it's always me being like, I believe in this game. I really believe in this game because I have, as I said in my other video, man, I know Bungie can turn it around because I've literally seen them do it before. I have seen them completely vanilla Destiny to Forsaken. What a complete change in philosophy, in gameplay, in everything. And it was just such an amazing experience looking back in Forsaken. Witch Queen was an absolute masterclass in storytelling. So it's like, I've seen Bungie do it. This is not some like hopeless, bottomless pit of despair. I have literally seen Bungie make Destiny absolutely fantastic. So I have all the confidence they can do it again. They just need to hopefully like believe in themselves, frankly. Guys, all right, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed, found this interesting. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.